الولاء والبراء. This is the creed that a Muslim should have loyalty towards Allah, His Messenger, and the believers, and should disavow the disbelievers. People are divided into races and ethnicities, tribes and nations, but Quran divides us into believers and unbelievers, mu'minun wa kafirun. The believers, irrespective of their ethnicities, are one nation, and they are separate from the non-believers. Allah Azza wa Jal says, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ. The believers are but brothers. And Allah Azza wa Jal says, وَإِنَّ هَذِهِ أُمَّتُكُمْ أُمَّةً وَاحِدَةً. And indeed this nation of yours is one nation. And Allah Azza wa Jal says, وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ. The believing men and the believing women are allies of one another. And Allah Azza wa Jal says, وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ. And those who disbelieved are allies of one another. So an Indian Muslim is your brother, while a Hindu Pakistani is not. This creed is not a voluntary or complementary part of our Aqidah, but it is a central issue for a Muslim. If you look at the number of verses and ahadith that cover this concept, it would show its importance. Just as an example, Allah Azza wa Jal says, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لَا تَتَّخِذُوا عَدُوِّي وَعَدُوَّكُمْ أَوْلِيَاءَ تُلْقُونَ إِلَيْهِمْ بِالْمَوَدَّةِ وَقَدْ كَفَرُوا بِمَا جَاءَكُم مِّنَ الْحَقِّ يُخْرِجُونَ الرَّسُولَ وَإِيَّاكُمْ أَن تُؤْمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ رَبِّكُمْ إِن كُنتُمْ خَرَجْتُمْ جِهَادًا فِي سَبِيلِي وَابْتِغَاءَ مَرْضَاتِي تسرون إليهم بالمودة وأنا أعلم بما أخفيتم وما أعلنتم ومن يفعله منكم فقد ضل سواء السبيل إن يثقفوكم يكونوا لكم أعداء ويبسطوا إليكم أيديهم وألسنتهم بالسوء وودوا لو تكفرون. O you who have believed, do not take my enemies and your enemies as allies, extending to them affection while they have disbelieved in what came to you of the truth, having driven out the Prophet and yourselves only because you believe in Allah your Lord. If you have come out for jihad in my cause and seeking means to my approval, take them not as friends. You confide to them affection, but I am most aware of what you have concealed and what you have declared. And whoever does it among you has certainly strayed from the soundness of the way. If they gain dominance over you, they would be to you as enemies and extend against you their hands and their tongues with evil, and they wish you would disbelieve. These are the words of Allah. Allah is telling us about the intentions of America, the intentions of India, the intentions of the UK. Their intentions are, if they gain dominance over you, they would be to you as enemies and extend against you their hands and their tongues with evil, and they wish you would disbelieve. This is what they want. They want the Muslims to leave parts of the religion. They don't like Sharia. They don't like Jihad fi sabilillah. They don't like Wala al Bara. They want us to change these aspects of our deen. Are we going to allow them to do that? Now, even though the Jews and Christians are included in this verse that I just recited, but Allah warns us specifically about them because Allah knows in His ultimate knowledge what will happen in the future. Allah Azza wa Jal knows that we will be in a state of conflict with them for a long part of our history. Allah Azza wa Jal says, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لَا تَتَّخِذُوا الْيَهُودَ وَالنَّصَارَى أَوْلِيَاءَ بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ وَمَنْ يَتَوَلَّهُمْ مِنْكُمْ فَإِنَّهُ مِنْهُمْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَهْدِي الْقَوْمَ الظَّالِمِينَ. O you who have believed, do not take the Jews and the Christians as allies. They are in fact allies of one another. And whoever is an ally to them among you, then indeed he is one of them. Indeed, Allah guides not the wrongdoing people, and this is in Surah Al-Ma'idah. Now, our governments have turned into stooges for the West. They are doing the dirty work of the West. The prisons are full. Muslims are being killed in their own land by their governments because of the orders that the US would give them. And the excuse that the governments use in justifying being stooges for America is that we must do so to protect our nations. But this excuse is not acceptable to Allah. Allah says, فَتَرَى الَّذِينَ فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ مَرَضٌ يُسَارِعُونَ فِيهِمْ يَقُولُونَ نَخْشَى أَن تُصِيبَنَا دَائِرَةٌ فَعَسَى اللَّهُ أَن يَأْتِيَ بِالْفَتْحِ أَوْ أَمْرٍ مِّنْ عِنْدِهِ فَيُصْبِحُوا عَلَى مَا أَصَرُّوا فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ نَادِمِينَ. So you see those in whose hearts is a disease. What is this disease? Nifaq, hypocrisy. Hastening into association with them, saying, we are afraid the misfortune may strike us. We're afraid from the armies of disbelievers. We're afraid that they're going to bomb us. Allah Azza wa Jalla says, but perhaps Allah will bring a conquest or a decision from Him. Meaning Allah Azza wa Jalla will punish these nations who are fighting against the Muslims. Allah will bring a conquest against them or a decision, some disaster that will weaken them, either an economical downfall or disunity among them. We don't know what Allah Azza wa Jalla, because everything in the universe can be a soldier for Allah. وَمَا يَعْلَمُ جُنُودَ رَبِّكَ إِلَّا هُ. Nobody knows about the soldiers of Allah but Him. And then Allah says, and they will become, these hypocrites, they will become over what they have been concealing within themselves regretful. They will regret that they stood with the US. They will regret that they stood against the Muslims. They will regret it in dunya and in akhirah. If we put our trust in Allah, He will be sufficient for us. Rasulullah ﷺ was alone in Mecca, and Allah protected him. He was surrounded in Medina, and he was given victory. Before him, Musa ﷺ faced the most powerful army of his time, the army of Fir'aun, and he was granted victory. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu faced the apostates and won. He then fought against the two superpowers of his day, the Persian Empire and the Roman Empire, not one after the other but consecutively. And he won against them. We are not weak, we are strong, but we are weak in our iman. That's our problem. Rasulullah ﷺ says, one of you does not complete his iman until he loves for Allah and dislikes for Allah and gives for Allah and holds back for Allah. When a believer reaches to that stage where everything in his heart depends on what pleases Allah Azza wa Jal, that is true iman. So you love for Allah, not because this person is nice to me, not because I'm gaining some worldly benefit from this person. I love him because he's a Muslim, because he's a believer, because he's close to Allah Azza wa Jal. So I love him for the sake of Allah. And when you dislike for the sake of Allah, you dislike a person not because he's against you, not because he harmed you, not because he brought you some worldly harm, but because this person is far away from the commands of Allah Azza wa Jal, you dislike him. And you give for the sake of Allah. So you don't give someone in order to gain, in order to benefit from him in dunya, but you give him for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. Because that person is in need, because that person is poor, because you're expecting the reward from Allah Azza wa Jal. And when you hold back, you also hold back for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. That's true iman. That's the high status of iman. لا يستكمل أحدكم الإيمان. You do not have complete iman until you reach to that level. So everything, your worldview is based on pleasing Allah Azza wa Jal. You see everything, the lens that you have over your eyes are lenses that tell you, I like this because Allah likes it, and I dislike this because Allah dislikes it. How many of us are at that station? We need to strive to get to that level.